necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum Mindset Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum. And welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show. I'm your host, Jay Farrow. Happy Friday, everybody.
And I am Janine Davis. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited that it's Friday again.
Right.
It just came up so quickly. We hope that everybody fared well during this past weekend Hurry Up.
I've seen that they're selling Halloween costumes in CVS.
Of course. I mean, it was August just a second ago. So, of course. Yeah, no, it's happening quick.
It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. And we have a great show for you today. We're going to dive right into our weekly check-in, but we do have a guest with us today, Luis Feliz, and he calls himself a hope artist. And we'll be bringing him in here probably right after our first segment. But we're going to jump right in. As you all know, that we're a couple of entrepreneurs going through it, going to take our lives to the next level, trying to create the life that we want, starting with the life we have. And just to check in, just first of all, on some just like my good news. There's a very special person that's in Colombia right now. I just want to say hello to you, and you're going to do great on that speech. And I can't wait to see you on Sunday. Life is really good, and life is really challenging at the same time. What's come up for me this week is the issue of support. We were talking earlier, just like right before the show, about the personal trainer.
Yes.
And I was talking about getting some physical therapy for my knee, for my shoulder, and I was like thinking about my personal trainer, and I have all these conversations about, well, am I being watched enough? Is my form being watched enough? And I thought to myself, well, what would it look like to go and do this physical therapy and use that as personal training for a while, and
to learn how to move efficiently, because that's what I'm learning.
But there's a deeper conversation, and that is clarity with what support looks like for me. I do have a personal trainer. I also have people that work with me at my law firm. Our accountability together, and the kind of support that I need. Mm-hmm. And if I don't feel like I'm getting supported, I don't feel like I matter. If I don't feel like I matter, I feel like there's just not enough conversation going on, and I'm not heard. And we had a session this morning.
Super powerful.
About getting into the nitty-gritty about our relationship, because there's a lot of stuff that's come up in the last few weeks, guys. A lot of stuff that's come up between Jeannie and I in the last few weeks, and it's not been pretty.
No.
And it has created, though, the space to have the conversation of what would it look like to have a 10 relationship between us, and what are we identifying in our relationship? Okay, because look, guys, if you're creating team, this is huge for you. This show is about this is right on point. If you're looking to create team for what you're up to in your life, whether that be for building your business or building a relationship, I mean, it is about how do you have these conversations about clarity. If I'm not feeling supported, and I'm not telling you that I'm not feeling supported, and if I'm not telling you exactly what I need to feel supported,
yes,
how can I complain about necessarily not getting the support that I have?
This is so interesting because, as we're going through, hi Glennie, how are you? Thank you for supporting the show, actually. So you bring up a really good point, and something that we discovered today. When we're in relationship of any kind, and again, Jay and I have our friendship, we have our business partnership, we have all kinds of things going on, and we're creating programs together and doing all kinds of things. So what we have come to realize that no matter what you're up to, and especially in business too, you're ultimately in relationship with people. You're building team. And to Jay's point about the support is, if I'm not 100% clear on how and what that support looks like, then I'm not able to provide it. And then what happens is you go around and round in circles and circles and circles. I need support, but nobody knows what they're talking about. So getting to that clarity and really having the ability to understand exactly what that is, and deeper than that, why someone actually needs it, and be vulnerable enough to share that side of the story, I think is really, really valuable, because from that space, you can create the vision of what that looks like, and you can actually execute it, live in, instead of feeling like, again, it goes back to like, people need to be loved and supported in very specific ways. If the kind of love and support that I'm giving is not the kind of love and support that you need, then we're both missing it.
There's that book, The 5 Love Languages. I just was talking about this earlier today. Mm-hmm. It is a question about, how do I feel like I'm supported? How do I feel like I'm loved?
Yeah.
You know, what does that look like to me? And what I've identified is that a lot of this goes down to core wounds. A lot of this goes down to how 100%. I was treated when I was a kid and what I made up about that, and the armor that I put on myself for many, many years that I didn't let anybody break through. And now if I'm looking to really take my life to the next level, if you see me do one thing, you see me do everything.
Yes.
The relationship that I have with you, let's say that if I'm blowing up and with you, okay, it's only a matter of time before I blow up with somebody else in my life. You know, when I say blow up, I'm talking about getting that out, getting it off my chest, where I'm completely in my survival, completely in my panic, completely in my human experience, where I don't see possibility. And that's what I mean. When I get to the point where my buttons have been pressed to the point like they were this week, you know, especially when we're doing some things with court and some clients, I get to the point where I don't think anybody sees me, I don't think anybody hears me, and what I'm going to do, that builds up, and it builds up to a point where I get to that. I feel like I'm in complete survival, complete panic, I would call it panic or anxiety or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And then I yell, I scream. I'm hoarse right now because I was like, we left the office late, and I can't stand that. You know, I can't stand that. You know, I'm sitting in my office, I'm doing whatever, and then somehow, some way, there's just 10 minutes, and we pay for the show. Most of you guys don't know this, but we pay to be on the air. This is not something that we get paid for. So every single week that we come here, we come to be in contribution to you, the listeners.
Yeah. And
so to show you what it looks like when you're actually going after the life of your dreams, and how it doesn't always look like the perfect picture stuff that you see on the movies. And we've had to decide on many months on whether we're going to go buy groceries, literally like a few months ago, or put the money into our business and put the money into the show. And we decided to stay in contribution and be in the show for the purpose of supporting other people who are taking their life on.
Yes.
Who are living the tenets of transformation. When I mean the tenets of transformation, is very, very simple. It's a mindset. It's a mindset of growth. A mindset of living in possibilities of yes, I can, as opposed to no, I can't, and here's why.
Right.
So for the people that are out there that are committed to creating the mindset of growth and yes, I can, here we are. And now we're going through the experience of the day-to-day, what this looks like to actually feel like you're actually supported in going after the life of your dreams.
And I think that since the beginning, we've been very candid on, like, we are on this journey. We're actively on this journey. And there are things that come up in our real life that challenge the very tenets that we believe in. And there is it's life, so it's beautiful. It's catastrophic, it's devastating, it's hurtful, it's all of those things. But there's a big difference with what we're talking about that I'm experiencing and that I've been experiencing over the last time, particularly in the last month, but really this whole entire time. Where before, I would also be in that space of like, okay, that's it, just... I can't anymore. There's no hope. There's no nothing. It was like despair would set in, and it was like gripping. And I just thought, okay, this is life, and I bought into the stories. It's hard. It's this. It's that. Victim. Today, even though I go through it, and my challenge is a little different than yours, in the sense that I am someone who has suppressed my feelings for 40-something years. I am okay with your feelings. I'm okay with his feelings. I'm okay with anybody else's feelings except my own. Everybody has permission to feel, to freak out, to be all of these things except for me. So now I'm entering a space where I'm not buying that for myself anymore. I'm like, okay, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, just logically, it makes no sense. So now I'm challenging myself to really be in it. And when I go through it, I really go through it today. And I feel it. I feel it in my body. I feel it everywhere. I feel the discomfort. I want to run. I want to scream. I want to burn the village. Because I also have that very human aspect in me. And I'm not nearly as measured as I was before I actually say what I'm feeling. The distinction, though, today, I will repeat, is even though I still go through it, I have an enormous amount of commitment to transforming the experience and not allowing it to be gratuitous, not allowing it to be just chalking it up to the experience and life is painful. I don't buy that anymore. And so it's not that I love going through it or going through it with joy because it's hard, but I also see the redeeming value in it. I see the growth. I see the possibility, and that's why I'm willing to stay in it. Where before I would just run. I would extricate myself from the situation, and that'd be that. I mean, that's it. So yeah.
No, I'm just bringing this down to a more street level. I have a tremendous amount of things on our plate in one day. And each one of those
our
things
24 hours are insanity.
I look back in the 24 hours and people that I speak to are like, wait, what did you do in the last 24 hours? And it's difficult to relate that. But on a ground level, let's just say that we have a lot of things on our plate. Each one of those is a door. Each one of those is a door that we get to go through and press through. I mean, whether it's a client conversation, whether it's a conversation with one of my opposing counsels, or I got to go to court. Every single time I get the butterflies in my stomach. I have little conversations about, do I know my stuff? Am I ready? Am I prepared to do this? And then I find myself and I'm doing better, but I find myself procrastinating on these little things that eat away with me. And they're small things. And they're usually just like small conversations because I want to walk through this door, but I don't want to walk through this one. And at the end of the day, I'd like to put my head on the pillow and say, okay, from the time I woke up on the bed, I made my bed, to the time I'm back on the pillow, I've done all my stuff, taken all my supplements, got all my things done on my to-do list, and now I'm going to go and rest. Because there's a discipline in that. And in that discipline,
yeah, there is.
There's a freedom that I know that it exists. And this week, for all of everybody down here in South Florida, it was a difficult week because routine went out the window when you have 4 days where you're just wondering if a hurricane's going to come, or if you have to chase it,
Right.
Because, it wasn't going to come here, so I had to go where the storm was. Anyway, but the thing is, for those 4 days, being inside, the gyms are closed, and then, people are making other arrangements. So, for instance, like our chef had to take a couple of days to get the food. I sound so bougie right now.
I know. I'm like, I'm going to let that just roll off my back.
But let me ask you a question. If I would have said my pharmacist was closed and I couldn't get my medicine, you would understand that, right? And I'm joking about the thing, but I have a chef that cooks all of my meals for the week. Because I have a very specific meal plan that I'm committed to. It's actually a lifestyle now. It's something I'm doing for a year and a half where I eat 6 meals a day, and it's basically the same exact meals that I eat every single day. So it's not like, so this matter of convenience, I'm looking at my food as medicine because
it is. It absolutely is, actually.
So so when we're talking about going through it, and we're talking about the things that come up, and we're talking about what it feels like to go after the life of your dreams and actually transform. It's literally walking through each one of these doors and telling somebody else that you're committed to walking through these doors, these to-dos that you have on a daily basis, and then all of the things that come up in the midst of that when you're playing team. Because just because you got a team doesn't mean that the team's all playing on all cylinders all the time. And there's some team members that are going to be putting more effort and some team members that aren't. And there's expectations that one team member is going to have in their head. I'll be honest with you. I had that hero syndrome, right? We were talking about, someone was talking about Captain America before we came in here. I was like Captain America, Superman, and I like being in those roles. But I'll tell you this, what I won't tell you is like there's a martyrdom to that.
Yes.
Because then you look back and say, wait, why isn't this person doing this? Why is this person doing this? Why do I always have to carry the burden to do X, Y, and Z?
Well, it's interesting because, and we'll discuss this in the future because I think it's important. The way we see ourselves and then the shackle that actually is for us. So it has like a really shiny side to it, but it has a really dull side to it too. And those are like the roles that we assign ourselves, and they're double-edged swords. And they're so filled with story. And they're so filled with like so many things. Like I hear you say that, and there's something in me that's like, oh my God.
But
are you serious?
I like the Superman cape. I do.
No, and I love that. I'm not talking about that. That's like the fun, loving, joyful aspect of it. I'm talking about the dark side of it. So at any rate, my point is, thank you so much, Michael Compagno. That's amazing. Thank you. So it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and we all have a little martyrdom in us, and it's poisonous. It's a very poisonous cup when we buy into that story. Also,
but it's a dual-edged sword. Like a superhero,
that's exactly what I said.
And be the martyr.
Yeah,
and
it's a dangerous thing.
And while I'm playing in the office, I said I don't mind my chair. I don't want anybody to feel bad for me through the chair that I sit in.
No,
but I just want to feel. All I want to do is be seen.
Yeah.
And really, one of my top love languages, I think, words of affirmation. So for people to say, "I see you," I know what it means for you to have taken this on. I'm like, oh, I'm seen, and that someone heard me. And then when I feel that like that supported, especially when someone takes that extra effort and remembers something about me, or just that little extra stuff. I'm really cool with that. I can get my tank can get filled like that right quick.
Yep.
But this week was a lot about support. Also, how to speak to people about like some of the issues that came up in the law firm. How to create parity, and I got yelled at a lot. I got yelled at a lot in my first couple of jobs. I mean, to the point where I was afraid to practice law. I mean, there was some.
I can imagine. It's terrifying.
There were some mistakes.
It is absolutely terrifying.
There were some mistakes that had happened as a rookie during my first year, and the boss came into my office and he threw shit. He threw things at me, and
I'm sure.
It was like a shoe, but it was a thing. So. Okay, I got to take a break.
Sorry, guys, we got to take a break.
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show
with Jay and Janine. Give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty before the break, but we're excited right now to bring on our guest, Luis Feliz, right?
Yes.
And we have you down as a hope artist. We've known each other for a while, and we really appreciate you showing up here. And I know that you're involved with a lot of stuff in personal development, and that you have this thing called the Resilience Project.
Yep.
And well, I want you to tell a little bit.
We would love for you to tell us about you, how you got started, and how you came to create the Resilience Project.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Let me see. Where do I begin? Okay. So a little bit about myself. When I shared first the title of a hope artist, I shared it because they asked me for one. But if I were to give you, what truly I want to be known for is first a son, a father, a brother, a friend. That's what I am above anything else.
That's so
That's where it
That's
begins.
so powerful.
That's amazing.
Because that stand as a man, like in today's world, just what he's saying, a son, a father, brother, and a man, like that. That's some powerful
And a
stuff.
husband. Forgot husband.
And-
Sorry, baby. Hey, babe, I'm still married to you, girl. Okay, don't forget. Right? Don't forget you. I'm married. I'm
No, and I
happily
know your
married.
wife. I will say something. I had the pleasure. I've known Louis already for a while, and I had the pleasure of meeting his wife. And I have to say that rare is a couple that matches. The brilliance matches the brilliance. The joy, the beauty of the essence of the people actually match. And they are an extraordinary couple. She is as lovely as
thank
you
you.
are. And that is
She
like,
speaks
wow.
so highly of your wife, but I mean, my experience of you since I met you is just like the word comes up for me is gentleman, and there's an integrity about you and your way of being that is just that screams honesty and commitment, and I acknowledge you for that. And
thank you, brother.
And really appreciate the way that you showed up showing up for us, but also for this project that you've been working on.
Yeah. So
Okay, so
please.
so that's I wanted to really start with that first
Yeah.
about my my identity, and then the project called Infinite Resilience. It's a project that came about from my experience with anxiety.
Okay.
I had a panic attack in January 16th of this year.
Okay.
I had all the symptoms, and then after I ended up in an ER, I
Wow.
told my wife, hey babe, something's up. Something's up.
Right.
I started shaking. The ambulance came in. I'm like, man, I'm that guy now.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's
That
like-
kind of looking good.
it's like felt
I'm
like a heart attack?
Here I am. Yeah, I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack, and I can barely walk. And I'm thinking, I'm that guy now because I hear the ambulance coming from my house, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm here, causing drama because of myself. But I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
sorry. And so after the ER, I had what they call a come to Jesus meeting. I was there thinking and reflecting, tears rolling down my eye, and I'm like, oh my goodness, if I'm about to die today, this is not the way I wanted it to end.
Wow.
There were so many things that I wanted to do in
That's-
life that I did not accomplish yet. So I'm there, tears flowing down my eye. My wife's there; she's also kind of crying, and I'm telling her, "Listen, babe, can you please just grab my phone, go to my computer, and all the documents that I've written, notes, just share them." Because I've written a lot of things, a lot of ideas, concepts that I would like to do, the things I would like to see happen in the world, but
wow.
I never thought about ever
How
doing
old are
anything
you?
with it. 41.
Okay.
Yeah. So then that happened. So before that, I was already writing a book. The book was called Perspective for Joy, which has everything on how to see the world, life in a positive way.
Wow.
Then the panic attack happened. And I was talking to a friend of mine, I think Lynn Everhard.
Yeah.
Lynn,
he's
we're
our
friends.
friend too.
Yes, correct. We were talking about publishing the book, and he said, "Hey, you need more pages." And was this after or before the panic attack? I forgot.
Okay.
But he asked me, "Hey, just add more content." So I began writing about my experience with a panic attack, and a lot came up during the process of writing the book. So I was writing my story,
Okay.
going back my past, my present, and my fears of the future. I began to realize that, oh my goodness, hold on, like everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Everybody has demonstrated some sort of resilience in their lives. Everybody has overcome something. If you're alive today, breathing,
Right.
you have demonstrated resilience in life.
Absolutely.
Some people don't think so. Some people think that they just had a good life. Some people think that I didn't have it that bad, and those are the people I think that have a more story to tell.
Yeah.
But they're too afraid because usually they've had siblings or fathers or mothers that had some significant health problems or mental problems, and they're the quiet ones, and they never say anything. But I just know that what you said is very, very powerful. I believe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because what happens is, and I this is what I noticed with all the interviews I've had so far, is that we have this notion, and I don't know how it happens. Maybe it's just because I think it's part of our evolution as a civilization, but that we attribute significance of life to accomplishments.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially in our society.
Yeah.
Like we do not know how to extricate or separate.
Yeah.
We are what we do.
Correct, yeah.
Instead of who we really are.
Yeah.
And this is a huge identity crisis.
Correct, and that's one of the reasons why at the beginning I gave my identity first. I am a son, I'm a father, a brother, a friend, and a husband. Those are the core identities that define me, that nobody can take away. Nobody. Even if my wife would have passed away or something, I still was a husband at some point. You know, if my father dies, I'm still a son.
And underlying all of that is like, I just going back, honorable man. That's what comes up for you. So all of those things fit in with that. When you're saying, you know, the son, brother, and everything else, it's just that your way of being carries that.
Oh no, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's a journey because guess what? Nobody's immune to having your identities challenged.
Oh my gosh, absolutely not. Especially once you define them, I think.
Yeah. So it's important to know that in the world we live in right now, and again, I don't blame this on nobody. I think it's just a natural progression of the evolution of civilization. You know, like our identity is the first thing that gets targeted.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if you ever gone to the Cheesecake Factory, you know how overwhelming that menu is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so the same thing is happening with identities.
Yeah.
There's so many identities out there of what you can be or what you should be or you could be. You know, the do's and don'ts, the have and have nots, all those things just pulling at you. So when you have, you know, a Bible of identities that you can choose from, of course it's going to be overwhelming. People are not going to know who they are.
Right.
Especially when you're trying to attach your story to that.
Yeah. Or the opposite, when you don't have any idea of what is available to you that you can create. So I think there's kind of like there is a polarity there. I think it, like as you suggested, there's an overwhelming amount of anything that you can be, and then there are people who think they can only be X, Y, or Z.
But to your point,
You know?
like the one that you attach your identity to a career, let's say, you know, or something or an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who are you without that? You're
Right.
everything. Actually, you don't need anything. You don't even need a name to be who you are. But this attachment to this accomplishment is an interesting piece to this.
Yeah.
So how far, like, more further did you go with?
Yeah. Well, so there's more about the project. You know, there's more depth to, you know,
Okay.
why do I believe that every story is worth sharing? And it goes back, I was setting the context of that's what most people believe and feel like that, hey, my life is worth, you know, seeing, or my story is worth following, all because I have a certain accomplishment. My belief, and what I'm trying to inspire people, is that just because you're a human being, because you're alive, you're a miracle. Now, when you observe, like, biologically, and I'm not a scientist,
Right.
I'm not a scientist, but for you to have been born,
Yeah.
you know, you're an evolution of what? A sperm and an egg. And there was like 1 million, I don't know how many, 20, 50, 500 million sperms that went in, matched an egg. That's a miracle.
It is a
You know,
miracle. I think
and
it's like a 4 in a trillion.
The
chance.
chances. So that, without you having done anything, just waking up, you're a miracle. You're a walking miracle inside of you, you and me. You know, there's a full-fledged universe happening inside. You know, with cells living and dying. There's a whole cycle of life happening inside of us, and that is, it's. I'm telling you, it's a miracle. It's something that does not get to happen very often. Just because we see it, you know, on a daily basis, but we only see the external. We see like, you know, what this person's done, what they look like. But when you really grasp that idea that, oh my God, Jay in front of me, this guy right here is a miracle.
Yeah.
Not because he's an attorney, because he's a speaker, because he's a trainer, because he's done that. No, like right there.
Wow. Well, because we think that our worth is because we're an attorney, because we're a speaker, because we're this, and even wrapping your head around your worthiness just because you exist.
Yeah.
I think for this society is mind blowing.
Yeah, you're a miracle.
I, like you, had a health scare at 41. I mean, I nearly lost my life. I mean, I wasn't given that much of a chance to live for the next few months, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I have an appreciation of what you're saying when I wake up and I know that the miracle, you know, and I have to practice that. Matter of fact, it's like, it's not just because I had that near-death experience that or many of them, that automatically gave me perspective like this. It's like, it's actually a practice that I have to remind myself that I'm a miracle, period. I look in the mirror and that's my gift, period. And that's something that practice over time and consistently, to start to understand and appreciate that. But I'll tell you what, when I did, and it's like what shows up right now, is that this journey from here to here is a lot faster.
Yeah.
Dropping down into my heart.
Yeah, I think the best practice, and I think that's why the way God, or the universe, I call it God, the way God created the entire world is so precise that we can only practice that with ourselves for so often, and it becomes like you lose value in it. When you start seeing yourself, yeah, I'm a miracle. It only lasts for so long, but when you get to practice it and learn and understand and love another human being,
Yeah.
you get to practice that every moment of your life. If you walk around, you see somebody down there on the street, a homeless person, you see them and like, that guy right there's a miracle.
And see, this is so profound, because if you're talking about relationship, because even all of us have a relationship with that homeless person.
Yes.
And how you treat that, even though I'm not saying that you have to be, go out and be buddy or give them all
absolutely.
the money in the world, but having the respect to look them in the eye with the same compassion and empathy that you would otherwise give yourself in the mirror is something that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had an experience actually with a homeless person in San Francisco last year. He was suffering from mental illness, and when I laid eyes on him, we locked eyes, and instead of being terrified of him, I thought, I'm sorry, we did not love you properly, like that you were not loved in the way you needed to be loved.
Yeah.
And the opposite, I kept eye gaze. He thought I was a lunatic, which was perfect.
Yeah.
But I was just sending him love. Like, I'm not afraid of you. I see you. You deserve my attention just as much as a handsome man.
Yeah.
So it's profound what you're working on.
No, thank you. And that's the premise of the project. So I go ahead and invite people from all walks of life. It's funny because as I began the project, the question I used to get is, so what do I need? Like, and I said, no, you alive? You qualify. So you alive? You have a story to tell? You speak Spanish or English? I can interview you.
Right.
And if you speak another language, I'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Right.
I got a story that was sent to me from Minneapolis.
Wow.
All from Minneapolis, older lady called Melinda. Thank you, Melinda, for sending this. Not sure if you're watching this. Thank you for sharing your story.
Right.
Which I'm going to narrate. I'm going to film myself. I'm going to read her story. I have another person that wants to send me their story from Vietnam.
What's the whole project like? What's the vision for the project?
I want to interview millions of people.
Okay.
The whole world.
But how does anybody get to see it? Like, what is the vision?
It's on
for
YouTube.
That? Okay.
They're on YouTube. And then I share them on Facebook as well.
So if anybody was looking for that, right, where would you find it on YouTube?
Yeah, they can go to the channel Infinite Resilience.
Infinite Resilience.
Yeah. And go to the website. There's a website called infiniteresilience.org.
Okay.
And you'll find all the information for the calendar and just book an appointment.
So I have a testimonial because I was I had the pleasure of being with Luis, and also I bumped up against this, like, what would qualify me to, it's funny, and I'm like, hey, how could you think so small? So I like snapped right out of it. But the first thing was like, well, I haven't saved anybody. Like I just started to like measure myself up.
Isn't that interesting? It's like, okay, let me check my resume to see,
yes. How do I qualify for this?
How do I qualify?
But I'm on a challenge to break through all of that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I, took you up on your, request to interview me, because I'm like, well, heck, yes. It's an experience that I would love to share with, and I believe in you, and I believe in what you're doing, and I love that you're giving people space to see themselves.
Yeah.
And to understand how valuable they are, independent of what function in life they have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Again, just going back to human basics, like you breathe, you have a heart, you're somebody's daughter, you're somebody's love, you're somebody's kid, you're somebody's, somebody. And I think that this is really a beautiful thing. So
thank you.
You provide an incredibly safe space.
What are some
the
more interesting stories?
Beautiful to
that you got? Like, what's one that stands out, or a couple that stand out?
Okay. Actually, I will share briefly Melinda's story. She's the one from Minneapolis.
Nice.
Right. Very brief. I'll share because I don't want to not ruin it. But this lady, God bless her soul. She was born in the mid 1900s, right?
wow.
And her mom, she was a white lady. She was pregnant by an African American. So back in those days, I had no idea that you knew segregation was happening,
right?
But it was hard to fathom that something like this was happening. So the mom was pregnant. I forgot her name already, but because of that, her parents, right, kind of disowned her. I would want nothing to do with you because you got pregnant by an African American.
Right.
Now she was homeless, so she was placed in it was a home where they have people like that, so they had to work and take care of kids until they gave birth. Right?
Okay.
I forgot this. There was a specific name for it, and I forgot the name of it. Sorry.
This is in Minneapolis?
This was Yes, I believe it was in Minneapolis.
Okay.
So then she was there until she gave birth. After she gave birth, they told her, you have to give this baby up for adoption. That's the best chance this kid has, to live. So she did not even see the baby. She signed some papers, gave the baby a name, and poof, here you go. So that was Melinda.
Oh, wow.
So she grew up literally in the foster
Melinda
system.
was the adopted baby.
She was in the foster system, her whole life.
Wow.
She was fortunate to have very loving homes, with everybody. But coincidentally, she was able to reunite with her mom.
Wow.
How did she do that?
Yes. So
Yeah.
she somehow, again, it's the universe, God works in such a mysterious way. She was being fostered by somebody that encouraged her to like, hey, maybe you should look your parents. And she was like, no, I don't want to look for my parents. I don't want to look, I can imagine why. If you feel abandoned, you feel like, hey, they didn't love you. You don't know the story.
I can't imagine that.
You don't know the story. You don't know. So then she was encouraged to check. So one day she felt, like the pull to go through the yellow books. She went to the yellow pages, and she looked her last name. It was I think it was Sidler or Slider, something like that. There was only 3 people in town.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
So you see where this is going.
Wow.
She went ahead, she with eeny, miny, mo, boop, this person. Called the person, and she said, oh, do you know Laura? That was her name. Laura Slider.
Right.
And he said, yeah, that's my sister. This is her number. So she calls. Laura, hi. Hi, this is Melinda.
Wow.
I'm your daughter.
When was this though? When was
In the
that?
50s. I don't know. It was in the 50s.
No. When did she call? When did she hook
She
up
was
with her mom?
how old was she? I forget. It's so many stories. Of
I
people
know.
which,
Yeah.
Right.
But she called. The mom was in shock. It's been about 20 something years. I think it was about 20 something years.
Okay.
The mom did not know how to react.
Wow.
To this, and eventually they reunited. There's
That
more
is
to the story,
so
but they
beautiful,
reunited.
of course.
She passed away 3 years after reuniting, but she at least had an opportunity to see her mother.
That
stuff
is
is
so
happening out there.
beautiful.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing because I think that also too it really sort of speaks into the fact that we don't know what lies beneath.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that fascinates me about people so much, that what you get at face value,
Yeah.
there's always so
Yeah.
But I
much
want to get
more.
into
There's such a
on the other side of
deepness
this
and
break. I
richness.
want to get into more of these stories that we have. I want to talk more about this because this is some fascinating stuff. And that story just blew me away.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back
All right, see you.
after this message.
What comes over?
Farrow Law Firm, standing up to corporate bullies, using innovative, aggressive, and effective strategies to resolve disputes effectively and timely. Contact us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm. We look forward to being of service to you.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show. And just a reminder, if you want to call in to ask a question of our guest, it's 888-565-1470. And we're back with Luis Feliz.
With Luis Feliz.
Yo, yo.
And
And
he was talking to us about some of the stories that have stood out for him during his, or in creating this infinite resilience project. So if you'd like to share more, we'd love to hear it.
There's one thing I want to also share regarding, the importance of sharing this project. And it is that going back to the value of life. And it is this, that there will never, ever be another person, or another human being, or another life experience like the one Jay's having. Or the one Janine's having, or the one I am having, or the one that you're having listening on the radio. Like nobody will ever be able to see life, experience what you feel, and from the 5 senses perceive life the way you have.
Yeah.
That is worth listening to. Ever in the universe. I express it like this because we think that it is so common when it isn't.
Yeah.
When you talk about resilience, you say everybody has a story. Is that a story of survival, a story of breakthrough, a story of rising from the ashes? That everybody has something in their background, that's something like that type of story.
Yeah, something they've overcame.
Something they overcame.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Here's somebody could have a C on the report card and created a life of becoming an overachiever because their mommy said, "Hey, Billy, we get A's in this house.
Yeah.
Okay, so right here is I think the bigger key and I want to speak into this because I think that right there, I knew I have a couple moments from my childhood that define me. Okay, and it could sound like, oh, is that it to somebody else?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that it? That minimalization of what somebody else goes through, because it's all relative.
Yeah.
That C, let's say that's the only thing that child heard in their entire life that was ever wrong with them.
Yeah.
That became the biggest monster.
That became
it of the thing.
Correct.
Now,
Yeah.
that is equal to, and I'm going to say this, and I believe it. It's equal to some of the more traumatic things that kids go through.
It is.
To child abuse and trauma. It might not look the same, and people that can say, well, this person went through years of mental and physical abuse. You understand that one moment.
Yeah.
Destroyed that
Destroy them,
child.
because that's what trauma does. I mean, when you traumatize the brain, or that's and I believe this too. Every of us have an awakening when we're like born, and then we go back to sleep because something like that happens.
Yeah.
We go back to sleep and we hide, we disconnect, we anesthetize ourselves, we check out until we can have a second life, a second awakening. And it comes sometimes
if we so choose.
It comes sometimes when you have that kind of experience like you did with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was your only first panic attack.
It was my first one. Yeah.
Wow.
I have other experiences in life, but that's the one that, like, oh snap.
Right.
Like, I got to start. My clock is ticking.
It's time to go.
Yeah, my clock is ticking.
Yeah.
It's time
So
to go.
alluding to what you were sharing about, the comparison.
Right.
That's what it is. When we compare somebody's life to somebody else's, that's why unique. Like, your life is unique. Janine's life is unique.
Yes.
My life is unique.
Yes.
And when we have, I think it's part of our evolution as a human race, because we've progressed, and we still have a lot more to go.
Right.
But I think this is something that we wrestle with right now. This is our one of our challenges that we have to overcome. Is that notion of comparing each other.
And some people say to themselves, I don't have the right to speak up because mine's not as bad as yours.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And that create that silence, eating that year after year after year after year. Especially people have siblings, and some siblings have challenges. My brother had some challenges with learning at one point, where they thought that he did, and then he just had to overcome that. But that was a story that also I created in my mind some dissonance and some misunderstanding. But I'm thinking to myself, how can I be getting my grades? My brother's going through this, So that comparison.
Yeah.
And then some people go, and then they're really in the shadow of their sibling,
Yeah.
or they're really in the shadow of their parent going through something big.
Correct.
And then that you got to see
Yeah.
is a huge
It is.
deal.
It can be, because we interpret it individually. We're a meaning making machine. We know that.
Absolutely.
Right.
So the value of that meaning is individual.
Right.
So when somebody says, like, my 100 is not your 100, it's kind of along the same lines.
Right.
Just because you've experienced, let's say a sexual assault in your life,
Right.
and I experience a C on my report card,
Right.
to me that could be 100.
Right.
In the development of my life or my soul, that could be my 100 that
Right.
wakes me up to something, to
Right.
define my life in a certain way. For this person, they could have a sexual assault and they still not be their 100.
Right.
It could be, a near-death experience. And like, man, that's my experience, because it's individual.
But it takes something. In your case, what happened to you in January. In my case, it took what happened to me to have that feeling of, this is my only shot. Like, I get to wake up now and start going after my life like there's no tomorrow. Like, there's something at stake for me now, because I want those pages to be filled. I'm talking for me. I want my pages to be filled. I write on Facebook almost every single night. I mean, I also spoke to Lynn about publishing these posts on, and maybe one day that we can get that all organized.
Yeah.
And I want that to be filled. I want the pages of my life to be filled. There's a song like this Enya song called "Book of Days." It's just like playing in my mind right now because it's so powerful. I mean, just to know. But the gift is, though, whatever that is, if it's being called getting a C, in my case, it was what happened to me in 2016. In your case, that's a gift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that came up with us this week, we talked about it this morning. It's a gift to have that painful experience. It's almost like the universe hands you a gift of pain, a gift of learning, a gift of trauma to be able to break through. And I say the people that are traumatized the most are the most blessed people on this planet. I mean,
it's interesting that you say that, because in the spiritual realm, or what they say, like light workers and different things, often had an extremely traumatic, heavy upbringing. But there's something to that allows them perhaps like the space of compassion or understanding. I'm not really sure what the correlation is, but there is a disproportionate amount of people who have been in that space that have that. To your point too, though, and this is kind of what I was saying as well earlier, it's about taking the experiences that we have in our lives and actually making them count and not allowing them to be gratuitous.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by gratuitous? Like
gratuitous, what I mean by that is that, like, so for example, we had situations this week. If we were not committed to transformation and to growth and learning from it, it would have happened really just to cause pain, like for no good reason. Okay, that's gratuitous.
Okay.
But when you recognize that something is happening for you, even though it sucks, even though it's painful, and even though, frankly, I would rather not have gone through it, but where's the gift in it? And having that mindset to be like, okay, where's my golden nugget here? Because I know there is one. I know this universe is generous.
As part of our Momentum program, we have people identify that moment, whatever it is for them. Yeah. Because that moment is the gift.
Yeah,
that moment is the gift.
Defining
and if you
moment.
haven't had that yet, you got to create it. You got to create it because, and I know some people like right now, and every person that's done this, that becomes the one in a million that actually transforms their lives, that goes after it and really creates something beautiful, is that the pain of staying where you are becomes greater than the fear of moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I'm so fascinated to hear more about these stories, because I'm listening with the ear of what does it take? It's individual. But there's these moments that you can give as examples: near-death experience, the sea, and it's okay. Give people permission to feel that the sea was enough for you.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Right. There's a buddy of mine. He once mentioned that sometimes you can ask the universe or ask God for a gentler reminder. You know that that you're not in your purpose. You know, because sometimes, you know, for some people it takes something very extraordinary for them to wake up or to see something. And going back to the experiences, I'm now going back to something else that I experienced when I was in the military. I did 20 years of service. I did 6 years in the Army.
Thank you for your
14 years in
service.
the Coast. No, it's an honor. An honor. So when I was in the Army, I deployed to Iraq. And then when I deployed there, it was during the shock and awe campaign. So it was all the bombing was just fresh, all done. So we were crossing Kuwait and to go into Iraq, and we were going to occupy a Iraqi base. And the Iraqi base, when we showed up, obviously the path there was like just blown up tanks everywhere. There was smoke. It was just destruction. When we got to this Iraqi base, all we saw was, if you just imagine watching, going downtown Fort Lauderdale and watching 20-foot craters under a building.
Wow.
Whoa.
Like 20 feet. You can't conceive it unless you're there.
Right.
You're like, damn, like that was like heavy. So that was all around, everywhere. So when we got there, obviously we were occupying it, and we were supposed to kind of start rebuilding, the rebuilding process.
Right.
So I remember vividly going into one of the barracks, because there were barracks for the Iraqi soldiers.
Right.
You could tell that everybody flee, that everybody just left.
Right.
There were just like clothes, belongings, stuff everywhere.
Right.
Windows blown out, and there was a locker for me.
Green.
I go there and
What do you mean?
I'll share here for a second in a minute.
Okay.
So I'm walking the hallways of this barracks, and I see a locker. There's many lockers. For some reason, I just open one. And I open this locker and I dust it off. And the top shelf of this locker, there's a picture. And there was like money, a bunch of other things, Iraqi money. And I dust off that picture, and that picture kind of changed my life as well. It was like 4 or 5 Iraqi soldiers, just like this. Like holding hands, brothers, like this, and smiling. And a voice in my head said, that could have been you.
Right.
Oh my God.
That could have been you. And it was like, what are we doing to ourselves?
Right.
And everything shifted in that moment. Like, I am going to be the love or a representation of love to everybody that comes across my life. Because this got to stop.
That is mind blowing.
That's
why I said that picture. That picture was for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was left for me.
I don't believe in any accidents. And for you, especially to see.
Yeah.
Because you want to talk about your calling and what you're actually here on this planet to do. You needed that, though.
Yeah.
That was for you.
Yeah.
That was a gift for you. And then for you to see that, and then to do what you're doing right now. And I don't know what you were up to before January, but it's also that I say the universe, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's like a feather, attaching a feather. Then I'll hit you with a ruler, then a hammer, and then a dump truck, and I'm lying in a bed of a hospital in 2016.
Absolutely.
And then you get to still make the choice of, going out and filling those pages.
Yeah.
But that's such a profound thing, because you know what? Because they are us.
Yeah.
There's no distinction.
There is no separation.
There's just a
And
bunch of
this is-
schmucks at the whatever, thinking, creating stories in other people's mind, and half this country that's in the middle of the country that's just like, is so, brainwashed into thinking that there isn't us and them.
Right.
There's no us and them. There's only an us.
Yeah.
And that's just like, it's amazing. So when does this book come out? What's next for you?
Well, what's next? I'm continuing to do interviews.
Okay.
I'm going to continue to do this until my clock stops ticking.
Wow.
And
that's beautiful.
eventually, the vision is to have enough stories to transcribe all the stories into books, series of books called Infinite Resilience, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4.
And it's just story after story after story?
Story after story after story after story after story after story. Because again, you don't need to have any qualifications. You're
and that's
qualified
what's
already.
so beautiful about this. I mean, this is what I find so fascinating is that, and I want other viewers out there, if you're interested, write into the show.
Please.
And we'll give where can people find you if they wanted to send you something to say I want my story tool.
Yeah, Facebook. Luis Feliz on Facebook. You can find me again infiniteresilience.org on the website.
Right.
You can find me on Instagram, Louis Feliz, or even Infinite Resilience on Instagram and also on YouTube.
I think it's also worth mentioning, Luis, that you're also a very talented photographer, videographer, and you have an incredibly artistic eye. So people, you can also hit him up.
I do that too.
He's amazing. So, and that's part of what makes your project so beautiful too, because the lighting, the camera quality, the background, everything just gives it that really sort of warmth and safety for people to open up, because they get to see through you that they matter.
And I need to feel important. Here's some feedback. Not sure I was doing it on time.
No, good.
We're so
but when
good.
people come in, like I say, I put a video on social media about how I transform my living room into a studio. I kind of did a time lapse. And again, it's not a big house, but I transform my living room into a studio. But I set up lights, 2 cameras, and people come in and they're like, "Man, this is legit."
Right.
I'm like, "Because you are legit."
Wow.
You are legit. You don't need to be in Larry King or Anderson Cooper or CNN or have the big dogs looking for you to feel important. I'm looking for you.
Right. That's the story. One of the other things though underlying all of this as well, and I want to come back to it because as a powerful man, I mean the way that you show up is also because of the way that you're tapped into your creative side. And that like you have warrior in you, and you have the creative side, and then you're not afraid to express either one when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
And that stand as a powerful man, I mean, that's like the genuine article, and that's like also as far as transformation is concerned, that's our way of being, and our stand for our lives, our families, our communities in this space of transformation transforms the world. Yeah. When someone gets they matter because you tell them that they matter, because there's no lying.
Or you allow them to reflect and see it in themselves because of how you show up.
And that's as contagious as stupidity. No,
it's true.
And the thing is,
it
really is that power of connection is just as contagious as is the stupidity of that drift out there that says that there's an us and them, that creates the dissonance, that creates that
otherness,
that feeds into the political banter that leads into the nonsense, that. So your work is extremely important, and so I'm hoping that our guests would participate. I mean, I know that you offered for me. I rescheduled with you. I don't know if we got that on schedule, but I'm really looking forward to that.
No, same here.
I have, like everybody else, have a story to tell.
Yeah, you do.
And then my identity, I like to think nowadays is, I deserve this. This is what's came up for me a lot, is because in the relationships that I'm looking to create in my life right now, what's coming up for me is it's like I'm looking at all this stuff that's great, and I would otherwise like, oh, this is not for me. Oh my God, this is like a lot. But I'm feeling right now is that I deserve this, and I'm getting past I deserve it because I earned it.
Yes.
Then that's a
you deserve it because you exist.
I deserve it because I'm a loving, soul. It's nice to know though that I also earned it. That I've been through experience, and through my experiences kept my word, kept my commitment.
Yeah.
So, anything else that you have coming up? What you said is the book is like in the future, but you said that you had worked on a book,
Correct,
and had some pages that were left.
Yeah, this book is pretty much done.
Have you filled those pages?
Yes, I have. The book is called Leveraging Anxiety, which is I share my story of how I leverage anxiety to learn some powerful lessons about
Leveraging
my
anxiety.
life. Yeah, correct.
That's huge.
I'm going now through the process of publishing. Getting all the stuff. Getting
Right.
the cover.
That's exciting stuff.
That's very exciting.
It's exciting, and like you can imagine, it's also some work. I have the project, then I'm also I help my
It
wife.
could create anxiety. Ironically.
The whole thing.
Yeah, so I'm helping my wife. That may seem like Dr. Latino Feliz. Where's she at? Yeah, she's watching. I help her with her practice.
Awesome.
Creating content and all the back end stuff.
Okay.
Being a supportive husband, part of my identity.
All right, all right, everybody. This is a great show. I'm like all lit up right now.
Let's go.
We will see you next week. And
Thank you, everybody,
thanks
for joining
us.
us.
And write into the show and offer some support to Luis Feliz. And we'll see you next week. Here
Have
on
a
the
beautiful weekend,
Momentum
everyone.
Mindset Show.
Enjoy the weekend.
Nice week. Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.
AM 1470 AM and 95.3 FM.